Alrighty, legends. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend so far. I think we'll get started. Bitcoin has been quite boring, which seems to be a common theme lately, but fortunately for us, all this coiling up so tightly means there's almost certainly a volatile move coming at us soon. So I'm going to start by taking a look at some Bitcoin charts. I'll bring up the MDX ALGO indicators. If anyone has any questions about the indicators, how they're set up, what some of the settings do, anything like that, feel free to ask. Or just general questions, I'll do my best to answer anything. If you have a mic, but you're... Holy, Bitcoin's starting to move a little bit here. If you don't have a mic but are in the private Discord here, you should be able to type in the chat box in the Indicators Live voice group. If you have a lot of background noise at all, just please do us all a favor and have your mic muted unless you're speaking or whatever. I'm hoping to keep this stream down to about an hour today. I know it's easy to get sidetracked and we end up going for like 2 hours usually. I do have a birthday that I got to get to fairly soon, but yeah, other than that, welcome everyone. I'm glad you're all able to come hang out and talk some crypto once again. This will be recorded and posted on my YouTube channel later tonight, just in case anybody misses this stream or gets in late or anything like that. I like to post them, so you guys are welcome to check that out. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. So yeah, basically to start things off here, just looking at the daily Bitcoin chart, and I know in my channel and my previous videos I've been outlining this chart quite a bit. I think we are at a very important level for Bitcoin because, I mean, this downward sloping trend line, we've all been watching it for weeks or months at this point. The fact that we did actually get at least 3 nice touch points, actually about a fourth there, and then started getting these closes above that line. And you know what? A lot of people really are starting to get bearish, thinking we're really not gaining any sort of momentum or anything. But in my opinion, I know in my previous video I was talking about, I actually think this is kind of healthy. I mean, the fact that we broke above this line and are just respecting it as support, even though, yes, we have been trading downwards for about a week technically, we're just really respecting that. I think if it was going to be a bearish fake out here, like just faking out the bulls with our breakout here, I think we would have got right back down below this level and closed a candle kind of down here in my box. I think we would have came back up, retested this purple trend line, and then respected it as resistance once again. So getting a bit of a bull trap here. But the fact that we're actually just kind of tapping away here and now kind of lining up with my horizontal support box as well, which I won't shut up about. I have had this box mapped out basically since back here because I love to look at these kill zones, I'm going to call it, just where we have the wicks of where we have bottomed out. And the fact that this level just keeps holding as support and we keep seeing all these bullish divergences popping up. I actually just noticed a new one today on the oscillator 4. We did already have a beautiful bullish divergence here, but now we even have a hidden bullish divergence, and those have been pretty powerful in the past quite often. I mean, you can see like this was a hidden bearish divergence here. When we're trading sideways and we get those hidden divergences, they can be quite powerful, and that's just another one that's showing up on the oscillator 4 now. That's just looking beautiful to me that we're trading sideways on this daily trend line. Again, just retesting this downward sloping resist to support flip here with all these bullish divergences showing up on the MDX ALGO 3, the oscillator 4, the oscillator 5 just has them all over the place. My RSI down here, obviously a strong bullish divergence ever since trading along this box. On a daily time frame there, I think that things don't look too bad. Just the fact that we are getting so many of those. I think it's the weekly chart here as well. If I pull this up, I know MDX was talking about this on his live stream. I don't know if he ever ended up finding this chart, but this is the bullish divergence on the weekly scale that showed up on the ALGO, the ALGO 3 and the oscillator 5 here. And if we look up here on the oscillator 4, we also have a bullish divergence forming here on the weekly. So, and on top of that, the Stoch RSI here, this blue dot on the weekly, and this take profit here on this short call earlier. There's just a lot of kind of signals flashing from this indicator recently that is really saying, you know what, if even if we do carry on this bear market, it's just looking like we're starting to see a lot of green showing up in the charts, and I don't think a sell-off will necessarily stick at this point. I mean, you can see that the bulls are very quickly to try and buy anything up. This is, yeah, obviously just a 5-minute. It's nothing serious here. The one thing I will say that I don't like actually about this daily chart is, if I just flip this off, the fact that we did end up getting a red candle close yesterday, I don't really like. I mean, it's okay that it's still above my green box. I'm going to say that, you know what, I'm hoping that we just see this kind of flipping into support where we don't even dip into this green box too many more times. Because, I mean, you guys know that the more you tap away at support, the weaker it can get. And I mean, there's no way around it that we have been tapping the hell out of this support box. So, I mean, how many more taps can it take? It might be starting to get weak. But I just personally think with all these bullish divergences showing up on daily timeframes and weekly timeframes, I don't know how strong the sell-off is going to be. If anything, I think it will be kind of bought right back up relatively quickly. Obviously, anything can change with that because, I mean, if we do break this support level, obviously the structure of the chart can change. If we end up flipping that support into resistance, I mean, Bitcoin's going to be in serious trouble for the medium term at least. But until that happens, I'm just thinking that things don't look all too bad there. Looking at a much smaller time frame here. Where did I have it? Actually, yeah, so this would be the 4 hour here. Ever since we retested that line, I mean, we basically shot straight back up. And now that we weren't able to gain any momentum from that. I mean, we did actually clear this resistance back here, which I'm liking on this 4 hour. But you guys know how I love my Fibonacci's and how often we end up pulling back down to the 786, 886. I really wouldn't be too surprised to see us start trading back down a little bit lower for the next little bit. But I really do think that a volatile move is coming fairly soon. And I know, like, this has been painful chop for all of us. Nobody wants to sit here and seeing these boring weekends that nobody really even wants to trade because just the reward isn't there usually on these small moves. But I feel like we are coming to the end of really coiling up. Here, I bet there's even another trend line forming here. Yeah. If I just make that one out of yellow, I mean, that's another third perfect touch point. So if we could now get a break above this level and kind of turn that into support as well, I think that's just a good recipe for that. You know, we're probably just, there's at least a good chance, I would say at that point, that we're forming some sort of a rounding bottom. And that we are going to be testing that $28,000 resistance. And you guys, for those of you who have been following along with any of my other videos or streams, you'll know my opinion on that. I don't necessarily think we're going to get the rejection that a lot of people are calling for, just because this kind of reminds me of when we were trading below 6K last bear market. But either way, that's a little ways away from now because, I mean, the market's moving slow. Anything can happen. I think if we start breaking resistance, FOMO could kick in real quick and get us to those levels. I think it's going to be a very volatile ride because if we get towards those levels, I mean, emotions are going to be so high in both directions. I think we're going to see some crazy volatility come back into this market, at least briefly. Anyone have any questions about the indicators? I know I've just kind of been going on a little bit here. Anyone having any issues or anything, make sure that you right click and change your visual order to bring to front if you're having any issues with the indicator. Quite often, I believe that's a visual issue people have had, and that'll just kind of clean everything up for you. And if you want to go into the settings and just customization of this indicator, I assume you're all familiar with, but just in case, you can either double click on any of the signals you have or right click on the signal and go to settings. But I have mine set up a little bit different right now. It's totally personal preference what you all want to kind of take in here. I've actually stopped using the signals just for now. I want to totally focus on my own analysis and bring those in. Like I look at the charts and do my own analysis. And then as things are looking a certain way to me, that's when I like to start turning on some things with the indicator here. Like when I get into a position, I like to turn on the take profits. I just don't like cluttering my charts with all too much stuff, so I don't want all these extra signals on here. But once I get into a position, then I can kind of switch on the take profits and just kind of have a second set of eyes. If I'm feeling too much FOMO because I'm feeling like the smartest man alive because I entered a winning trade, then I like having these indicators to kind of bring me back down to reality a little bit and make me second guess my own opinion, I guess, but also being able to verify my opinions. So that's kind of what I like to use these indicators for. And that's kind of where it goes into, guys, with my daily chart here. This is my analysis. I mean, I've had this box outlined since I think before I even had these indicators. So this was my own kind of support box. I was looking at this level for a whole bunch of reasons. For those of you not familiar, check out my Bitcoin cheat sheet video. I go into why I thought this was such an important level, why I'm hoping to find support at this box. So the fact that it has been, and now these indicators are kind of verifying my opinion, in my opinion anyways, so far it's looking good to me. That's where I really like to have that confluence on my side. I like to see the indicators lining up with what I'm feeling about the charts already before I even turn them on. So that's kind of how I like to use them. Yeah, let me know what are you guys thinking about the market right now? What's your opinions on the state of affairs here? Short term, long term? I know I'm just kind of looking at the daily right now. I can zoom right into like the hourly and stuff like that after this, obviously. I will look at the DXY as well here. Obviously, that's a hot topic in the crypto market. I still like where it's having a hard time. I mean, it's not getting the rejection that I was really hoping for. I was hoping that we would get a pretty harsh rejection here, but this candle has a lot of time left on it here. These are monthly candles. So this Fibonacci pulled top to bottom. That's kind of where I was talking. If I was in a long position from kind of finding support down here, I would definitely have been looking to be taking profits around all of these fib levels. And the 886 is kind of where a lot of moves have been going recently. Just if you're going to get a slightly lower high, that just seems to be a sweet spot that the markets are drawn towards. So the fact that that's lining up on the DXY with this, the top of this range here, this upward sloping range, and as well just kind of lining up with this old little bit of structure back here. Obviously we found a little bit of support here on our little, I'm going to call it a bit of a blow off top, I guess. But yeah, just to see all these levels kind of lining up with each other makes me think that, you know what, the DXY, I think, is going to have a really hard time breaking these levels. That being said, guys, if it is able to actually break out of this channel, I mean, this channel dates back about 10 years, actually even more. There's a lot of data here in this. Like I said, these are monthly candles. This is a large pattern. This is no 5 minute, no 1 minute, nothing like that. And this Fibonacci goes pulled back all the way to 2001. I mean, this is over 20 years of data on this chart right here. So I don't want to take this too lightly. I know the DXY is going parabolic and it seems like it'll never stop, but this would be quite a interesting level, in my opinion, for things to take a little bit of a pullback, if nothing else. I think it makes a lot of sense that would happen. I can look at the S&P 500 if you guys want as well. What did I have mapped out back here? I'll go to the daily. Obviously, a little bit of a resistance support zone on the way up here. The 0.5 Fibonacci pulled on this big swing here would line up with the bottom of that box. And I've actually had this mapped out, I guess, since last time we spoke about this, and I haven't even done a stream in about 10 days or so. So this analysis, I mean, yes, this is obviously a level of interest, this box here. I don't follow this market all too close. I mostly follow Bitcoin. But you guys know that I'm always watching those lower fibs, so I do see reason why the S&P 500 would actually dive a little bit lower. For one, just getting closer to the 618, 786, kind of those more important fib lines, in my opinion, than the 0.5. But also just getting another touch point along this downward sloping trend line, I think would make sense. So, I mean, chances are if the S&P 500 is trading to the downside, I mean, then obviously, yes, there is a chance that Bitcoin is going to follow suit. A very good chance, in my opinion. So in that case, yeah, you know what? We might end up breaking to the downside of this green box. Like I said, if it is just a fake out, we just kind of wick down but get back above this box, I would be extremely bullish in that case. If we end up staying down below and kind of trading down below it for a while and looking like we're getting that rejection, that's when I just have to change my trading strategy. And that's where I don't think I'll be as keen on trying to snipe longs, which you guys see in the group that I've been only interested in longs basically for the last month or last several weeks, just because I am bullish about this level. I just don't like the idea of shorting into support with all those bullish divergences. Yes, if that support drops, it could be an absolutely phenomenal momentum play to the downside. But just the way I'm looking at things, I don't think I would play it correctly. I think I'd let my emotions get the best of me, and I just personally don't want to try and trade into that. So I'm more interested in long in this, because even if our bear market is to continue, I think it makes a lot of sense that we at least get some sort of a relief rally, whether it's just kind of trading back up towards these resistance levels back here, or like I said, more importantly, I think up around 28,000. I think a nice little relief rally, even if we do get those crazy low numbers everyone's calling for, like 14K, 10K, you know what? It is absolutely possible we get there. But I still think there's going to be rallies along the way, and I think this is a perfect level, a perfect setup for us to get that rally. Because like I said, if this was more like a 5-minute chart or a 15-minute chart, something I'm more likely to get myself into some sort of a degenerate kind of a snipe. This is the exact type of setup I would be looking for to enter a long position. I love finding these support boxes that end up getting a bunch of bullish divergences. It's one of my favorite plays to make, because then your stop loss is fairly tight down below your structure. But, you know, the move to the upside, since we're at support, is so much larger. So I just really like these, especially the fact, like I said, we broke a downward sloping trend line as well as holding horizontal support. So there's just a few things going for it that I really like to trade personally. So like if this was a smaller time frame, I use too high of leverage to be trading a daily chart like this. But just something that I like to do personally. None of this is financial advice. Obviously, do your own back testing of chart patterns and that sort of thing. But I like to enter a partial position, then kind of ladder in the zone that I'm looking at as support. So I would just try and get an average entry kind of somewhere in the middle of my support box. That's just how I personally look at entering a long position. Let me know if you guys want to talk about any strategies as well or anything like that, by all means. If you disagree with what I'm saying, by all means, we can have a little healthy debates. We can discuss different strategies, because one thing I've been absolutely loving about being in that MDX Discord group is just having the different opinions, and you know what, having other people looking at things the opposite of myself, it really helps to bring myself back down. Like I said, having the indicator giving me take profit signals and that kind of thing, it just helps you kind of come back to earth a little bit and look at things an opposite way. It's pretty easy to get wrapped up in your own bias. A lot of people have the habit of saying like, no, this has to happen. We have to capitulate before we can move on. Nothing has to happen in the markets, and nothing has to make sense either, because the people who are choosing the direction of the markets can play whatever games they want, and the news can spin it however they want. I just like to backtest patterns and kind of look at my probabilities. It's basically like playing poker, right? You're looking at your probabilities. You're not always going to be right, but just got to come up with a consistent system and just stick to your plan. Backtest, kind of know your math, your probabilities of coming out, and what you always know how much you're gonna lose if you do lose a trade. In my opinion, using high leverage is very dangerous. Always make sure you control or have good bankroll management. Make sure you're not gonna lose a trade or lose your whole account after 2 or 3 bad trades. You want to be able to be wrong 100 times, just so you can stay in the game and let your probabilities play out, because you're going to lose some trades. So if you have a system that's going to work out and generally win more than you lose, then as long as you have proper bankroll management, you should be able to grow your account. So this is one of those trade setups that I just love on shorter time frames. Like I said, just breaking resistance as well as trading at support. That's just one of my favorite chart patterns personally. So seeing all these divergences on the daily, I'm just loving what the chart looks like right now. But obviously on a shorter time frame, it's kind of hard to play because it is so choppy and such a small choppy range without much of momentum either way yet. But I think we're going to see which direction that momentum is going to go relatively soon. I just don't know how much more we can coil up like this without some sort of a violent move one way or the other. Yeah. Anyone agree, disagree, have any of their own opinions, what they think is going to happen, anything like that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thanks for the stream, mate.
Oh,
Yeah,
you bet. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, no, what I've noticed is that every time I pay attention to the news, right, I just screw up. When it's 95% charts, it's just a better win rate because you completely just destroy the emotions, really. And the thing is, this is the kind of environment I preach risk management because so last week I got stopped at twice. It was a 1-to-3 risk reward ratio trade, and then this week I had a good short. It was a 1-to-7. My point is that it's such a difficult. I've been in the market for years, and it's such a difficult. I'd say this is one of the hardest trading couple of months in the whole time trading, I think, for me. And I just preach risk management because now it's just so much manipulation, and I find you always want to live to fight another day. It's the accumulation of good habits, and you could be the best trader in the world, but if your risk management is really bad, then if you blow up your account after 10 attempts, you won't really know for sure, right? You need to. This is the thing. What's actually what I learned actually. I can show my chart actually what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see your opinion. And yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I think bankroll management is just so important. Actually taking profits is, I found to be, as I was learning to trade, probably the hardest skill I've ever had to learn was to hit that take profit button. As soon as your position starts going your way, it's so easy to think you are the smartest person in the world and this move is never going to stop. And the market will humble you incredibly fast. And I know one thing I learned it was a different VIP group I was a part of back in the day. It was what I learned from him was just, being able to take profits very quickly and updating your stop loss. Just so that even if you are wrong on the play that you're making, you can still come out ahead. So between bankroll management and taking profits, those are kind of the two hardest things to learn as a trader, I think, just because it's so easy to get greedy, and you see, especially when you're following very large accounts who trade with very large money and stuff like that. I mean, everyone wants to be rich real quick, right? But like you said, I mean, just that bankroll management, just making sure you can just survive, basically survive long enough to learn lessons and come up with a good strategy, and that'll really go a long ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Not everybody uses the same risk reward, but the thing is that it's statistics because if you're going for a one, it's different if you're scalping, but if you're going for a 1-to-3, that means that you only need to have a 30% win rate to be successful.
Yes.
And if you project that over a couple of years, you're gonna make millions if you do the math.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. I can show my chart if this time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, bring it up.
Wait, sorry, 2 seconds. Okay, I'm just trying to screen share. Sorry, 2 seconds. Screen.
I'll bring up the 5-minute here while. Oh, here we go. All right, I'm gonna throw yours on mine here that week. The people on StewTube can watch too.
Is it? I don't know if it's the right screen that you can see, but
Yeah,
which screen?
yeah. Or no, I'm
Which
seeing my
screen
chart.
is it?
Here.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
I'm watching your screen, but it looks like my chart.
Hmm. Okay, I'll just stop. Okay, let me share it. Wait, let me share my. Okay, I'll just do it again. Can you see it now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, looks good.
Yeah, it's a bit messy, sorry, but so I want to draw attention to this. Can you see this screenshot?
Yeah.
Can you see it says Dow Jones Industrial Average Index?
Uh,
Wait.
I don't see that. That
Okay,
could
let
just
me.
be me being blind, though.
Okay. Okay. So I put it on top. So, can you see it now? Let me just. Sorry, 2 seconds. I put it on top of the screen. I don't think you put screenshots, can you, in front of
Oh, maybe
indicators?
not.
Okay. So what I noticed is that. So I look back. I'll just explain it. So looking back into the 2008 financial crisis, I mean, I mean, fundamentals are important, but it's important to stick to the charts. But in this exact same time, on the 13th of October, there's a fake run up like there was during that FOMC meeting. There was an immediate crash immediately afterwards. So I actually shorted. I've shorted from 19800 based on the charts. But I'm actually in the camp as you. Actually, I think I've actually closed my short now with a good reward because it's just long term I'm bearish, and I can show my chart. So this is my kind of theory. Can you see? Can you see the chart now? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
So
looks good.
I'm in the camp. I'm in the camp where zooming out. Can you see these two white parallel lines?
Yeah,
Yeah. This whole year, basically, we've just been kind of dancing between those two parallel lines. So this was the top here, this 70K here. So we came down here, came up here. This was kind of a deviation play, and then down here again, up. So I'm in the camp. We eventually do tag 9 to 12K. But I'm cautious as well. I do not think it's going to happen immediately. I think that definitely could be a run up to 32K. I've actually closed my short because it's one fine detail actually. So if you can see that, still see the 4 hour chart. And I've zoomed in. Can you see the zooming in bit? Yeah.
yeah,
So recently, this it's been quite bullish actually recently because there was this pennant here on the 4 hour chart. Can you see the yellow lines here?
yeah, you bet.
Yeah. Yeah. We broke out of it on the. We actually broke out of this pennant. Then we've kind of gone up here. Then we're dancing along this long-term white trend line here. You can see that, right?
You
Where I'm pointing
bet.
my
Yeah.
mouse. So the thing is, we haven't actually broken below yet. So it's interesting because I'm waiting to see whether we actually go below this long-term macro white trend line. Because if it goes up and down like this, it could just be a continuation pattern back up to maybe 23, 28K. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why I had a really nice short because it was a nice. I had a nice short, but I closed it now because also in the 15 minute, like there's a lot of fighting going on. Like there's a lot of fighting in the 15 minute. You were just trying to decide are we going to the 18900 region really, but yeah. So I'm in that camp where I think I mean I could be wrong, but the thing is that it's to highlight the example that I'm not going to go all in on a single trade. I'm only risking 1% every trade because I accept that I can be wrong. But in the long run, I do think we tag this. But at the same time, I'm cautious because you would think that given last week's news, Bitcoin would have already crashed, but it still hasn't. So it's kind of
Yes.
funny. If it's going to crash, it should have really happened this last week. The key levels to watch, I believe, are 17,800. But the thing is, 17,800 is quite a 17,800 is quite a weak support from 2017. So if we do crash below 1,800, there's like a clean crash below with like a higher time frame close. I do believe we eventually do tag 1,600, 16 and 16,800, but it's just I don't know. It just doesn't. You would think it would crash already, but still, it's still. obviously basic technical analysis is that, if you hit a trend line 3 times, it's strong. If you hit it a fourth, fifth, sixth time, you would think that it gets weaker, right? But
Yes.
it's still hitting it. It's still not breaking, and it's just I can't help notice that I'm macro bearish, but I'm a kind of it's so important in times like this. Like if you pay attention to the news, like there's I always joke because you could study economics in Oxford University, but it doesn't mean you're going to be a good trader. It's a completely different skill. It's a combination of psychology and actually sometimes being contrarian as well. Like, if you notice the market changes so quickly, the dynamic. We went up here, right? Everybody is so bullish. We went down here, everyone's so bearish. Do you know what I mean? In the space of a day. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's just, do you know what I mean? It's just so delusional. Like, so it's just always like 90% of the effort, I believe, should be on the charts. The way I actually, my trading style is kind of similar to yours in the sense that, but the thing is, I'm a bit of a more, I don't scalp, I'm more longer term. But the way I got this beautiful short is basically, I drew a Fibonacci from basically, I drew a Fibonacci from this top value here all the way down here, and I saw it was near the 786. But the thing is, I don't just enter because it's 786. I see how the price reacts to the level.
On a
I
smaller
don't.
time frame.
Yeah, I don't just get in just because it's a 786. But I understand that sometimes it's probably you can go for it, especially if you're not on the screen all day. But I noticed a certain weakness, and there was kind of on the 15-minute chart there was like a there was kind of a it was kind of bullish actually, the 15-minute chart around the 19,900 region. But there was like a bullish pennant forming, but it just broke down. So that's why I entered a short really. But I've actually closed my short now because I'm not confident. Like, I mean, we could drop all weekend, and weekend action is not reliable. But it's just no, I'm happy with my short to be honest. I closed it, and I'm seeing really. But it's just I can't really be bearish looking at this right now. I mean, I'm macro bearish because it hasn't broken down, and last week was the time it should have broken down. Do you know what I mean? So it's just watching and reacting really rather than predicting. Yeah, that's it really.
Yeah,
Strong.
absolutely. And what you just said there, I think that being able to react to the market is so much more important than being able to predict, right? So I agree with you that I usually don't just snipe right along those fib levels. Like if I'm able to be at the computer, I really like to see how they react to those. Like if I look at, let's say, an hourly chart, let's say for example, and I pull a Fibonacci, then I want to see how it reacts on like a 5 minute or a 15 minute. And that's kind of where, oh, it's we're getting a 5 minute double top with a bearish divergence right around that 886, 786. It's like, okay, well, this is probably gonna take a little bit of a turn, at least temporarily, right?
Yeah.
Can you still see my screen? And sorry, I do. I am dog sitting right now, so I'll try and mute my mic when the dog's losing his shit out there. But might be a thing I'm gonna struggle with here.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, looking at like a trade that I took fairly recently is I was looking at this downward sloping trend line on the daily chart here, obviously a very important level. And when I went into the 5 minute, here, one sec, where was it? Yeah, right down here. It's just since we dropped down below that line, see that I guess that's where I was looking at a deviation on a smaller time frame. We never closed any 5 minute candle bodies below that level. It was just this one quick wick, and then we started trading sideways right above it on the 5 minute, and then got this bullish divergence on the oscillator 5. So I ended up taking a long position. Just I forget where it was. It was like 18,352 or something like that, I think it was. But yeah, so even though I am macro bullish, so I'm the opposite of you, but I'm also at least cautious because we started to break some levels. Like we were obviously trading up way too fast, kind of broke that. We probably have some sort of bearish divergences on some kind of a time frame here. Let's go 15 minute. Not seeing any. I guess they were starting to form down here actually. But either way, we broke that upward sloping trend line, and then we broke this higher low here, and we started trading candle bodies fully below this level. So I was willing to cut my position short. I actually started, can't remember where I ended up taking my highest profits. I think it was around here because if I remember correctly, the ALGO 3 showed, yes, this bearish divergence with the Stocha RSI that I was talking about. So I did end up closing part of my position, actually at a couple places on the way up. I'm usually pretty quick to take partial profits at least. But when we ended up breaking down below this bit of support here, I was quick to take some more profits. And when we actually dropped this red box kind of closing below this structure back here, that's where I just said, you know what, I'll find a new long position because I think there's absolutely reason to believe that we would drop down to these lower fib levels. So I just closed the rest of my long position because I just want to be a little cautious right now because this market has been so unpredictable, so choppy. I mean, we're not getting a very obvious direction. So I just, again, accept that I could be wrong, just as you were saying there. What are we looking at now on the 5 minute? Hopefully that dog's almost done losing its mind. I'll have to kick it outside if it keeps up. But yeah, right now I would really like to see us break above this yellow trend line. Obviously a very small time frame here. This is just a 5 minute. I'm just looking at a bit of a degen timelines here. I bet we got a third touch point along that. Well, pretty much, not quite, but so it makes sense that we would have found support here. We haven't actually closed any bodies. I would say that was just a bit of a deviation. If you got onto the 1 minute, there was probably a beautiful long to be made. And by beautiful, I mean just a very quick snipe, obviously. Throw a little leverage in there, that's a... well, no, that's not much. Trading the 1 minute is obviously very risky. I don't like to look past the 5, but I like to see, you know, some bullish divergences lining up with what I'm looking at on a longer time frame. What's the 1 hour looking like? We haven't really got into that yet. Bring up the ALGO 3 here. Oh, you can see that same thing, that Stocha RSI bearish divergence. It looks like it was called on a lot of different time frames. I've noticed that thing's been calling a lot of really good moves, actually even better than the long and short signals, I think. Like, I mean, after you get that signal, set a stop loss nice and tight above just where it has topped out at that point. And I mean, it turned out great. Same with back here. I mean, you got a bearish divergence here. Could have entered a position with your stop loss just above there. Wham, beautiful trade to the downside. This one here, obviously, I mean, your stop loss would probably be a little looser kind of up above here, but either way, that position would have played out great too. Take profits along that daily trend line. Wham, those blue dots have been playing out absolutely beautifully. So I would love to see one of those come in on the 1 hour right now, or relatively soon here. And I know I pointed that out on this weekly chart, and that's, again, just a very powerful signal, I think, and another reason why I don't want to take this bottom range all too lightly, because the fact that we're getting these indications on a weekly scale from these indicators, I think that's a fairly powerful position that Bitcoin could be in here. I mean, you look back here, yes, it did technically trade a little higher, but this divergence here did a very good job at calling kind of where the market was starting to top out there. Every time we got it on the downside, we did get nice reaction rallies, even though these look small. Like I said, this is a daily chart. Even if you got in way up here, just like, I don't want to say you're going to get in right at the bottom, right? But even from here, I mean, that was a nice move to the upside. Bitcoin almost doubled from that call there. Even this small one down here, I mean, that's still about a 25-30% pump from there. So I don't want to take these signals all too lightly right now on the weekly chart. And like I said, with the bullish divergences on the oscillator 4, the oscillator 5 lining up with this one, this signal right here, we haven't seen that since Bitcoin was down around $200. One thing to consider with that, obviously, is that you can still just trade down after. Like, it is still just a signal. Nothing's guaranteed. But the fact is, back here, when that signal started flashing, I mean, the market's obviously getting towards that oversold conditions, and you start seeing that green come in on a weekly scale. Things can really escalate pretty quickly. You can see that we got quite a parabolic run after that. So that's one of those things where, yes, we have one of these signals right now. I want to be a little bit cautious. I still understand that this could be wrong. we could break this support and trade to the downside and kind of start targeting these levels closer towards 10K. There is absolutely structure back here. I can see the reason why we would drop all the way to 10K. That would also give us our complete 85% bear market cycle crash. So I do see reasons why we can go down, and you know what? I'm just not worried if we do. I will change my trading strategy, but I will be spot buying all the way down towards 10K if we get that drop. I personally don't think I'm lucky enough to buy it down here. Another reason why I don't think it's going to happen, but you know what? If it does, I'm absolutely going to be pulling the trigger on that. I think a lot of people will be terrified if we get to those levels, and then you're going to see people predicting 3K, things like that, because, you know, the bottom is never in for a lot of people. Like I said, it's okay to be wrong. If I'm wrong about this being support and we end up dumping down there, just make sure you have a backup plan. Always understand that you could be wrong when you're looking at the markets and setting trades. You could be wrong, so know how much you're going to lose, and also just have a plan B. How are you going to react if situation B happens? Do you have a plan? I know like a lot of people who are waiting and will not spot buy a thing until these levels, they don't have a backup plan. I know some of my friends who said that, no, I'm not buying until 10K, not buying even a little bit until then. Well, there's a chance you're wrong. What's your plan B then? Are you going to FOMO back in when it's up at 50K? Probably. So I think that's another important lesson to take from this, you guys, is just always have a plan B. Understand you can be wrong, and the markets don't give a shit about your feelings or your opinions. It will do what it wants. It's a savage beast. It doesn't care about any of us. We're just playing our odds, so just always have a plan A and a plan B in place. I haven't been looking at the chat. I should really catch up on this. Oh, there's not too much going on there.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny because I was actually looking at that falling wedge earlier on today. Actually, I actually opened a long position because I closed my short, but it's interesting you mentioned that because that long wick was actually fake out as well. I thought because there's not a clean close yet, so to me it looked the beginning of a falling wedge, but it's still early to comment really.
This one back here that I was talking about.
Yeah, what you mentioned earlier, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, like anytime we get, I mean, especially right here. So we had our low, and we never did close below that either, right? Like, or very close. I don't know. I'm not considering that a clean close below by any means. So the fact that it got a bit of a rally there, that's just where I like to really connect the very bottoms, like the very outside of the range that it's, you know, hinting at least. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that we never quite dropped below that and that we got this little bit of a fake out. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the bulls are looking strong by any means, and we can obviously see this moving average on the Algo 3. You know, again, it's the 5 minutes, so take it for what it is. But yeah, there's just not a lot of strength from either side right now, which is really making this market kind of hard to trade, you know?
Thing is that, oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I just think that's why a lot of people are having a hard time trading these ranges, is just because they're so choppy and small and just real no momentum going anywhere. It's just so choppy these days. What were you about to say?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you would never really trade based on patterns alone, obviously. But it's just volume. I mean, weekend price action cannot be trusted, as we know. And it's interesting to see how crypto has gone from trading 7 days a week to now like an equities kind of thing. It's like a 5 day It's like a 5 day trading thing now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, exactly. It totally is.
Yeah, I opened the long though. It's a safe stop loss because the risk reward is pretty good if we do bounce back up, and a lot of people are bearish now. But I closed my short. But yeah, if I get stopped out, I get stopped out. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think there's reasons why we would pull back a little further, just because I think it would make a lot of sense to kind of test back towards the 786, 886 of this current swing. But Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I am, well, everyone knows I won't shut up about being bullish in the group. So, and I promise, guys, I'm not always a moon boy. It is just because we're trading along my support box here and has kind of been playing out. I mean, just kind of holding as support. And, earlier you were talking about as you test support more and more, eventually it's probably going to be broken, right? The thing about this that I like, that even though we're still tapping away and tapping away at support, our divergences are still there. We're still getting new bullish divergences showing up. Like the RSI is just, I mean, that's quite a bullish divergence on the RSI as we're trading at the same levels. So it's not like the RSI is starting to drop and we're starting to show a weakness at these levels. Like the relative strength, I guess, as it's called, like the strength is technically building along this level, right? So
Yeah, and also like the macro long-term line has kind of been breached, and it seems to potentially be the start of a resistance support flip. But it's a bit early to say. But so far, there's no actual daily close below 1800 and 18,100. So it's just kind of waiting game, right? Like we can't really draw any conclusions yet. But
yeah,
it could be a resistance support flip, I suppose, as well.
yeah. I know I've pointed it out on this chart 1,000 times, but yeah, that would be such a beautiful resist support flip going from our market cycle all time high back here, just where we did find support there a little bit on our parabola. So I think to find support at this level, I mean, that is the level that I want to see all those divergences come into play. I am liking what they're bringing there. I don't like that we dropped my yellow line here. That dates back, I mean, like 10 years or whatever it is. So I don't like that we're starting to trade below that and tapping away at the bottom of that, possibly flipping it into resistance. The one little bit of leeway I'm going to give this is that I don't typically look at the logarithmic chart too much other than this one chart. So, like, I haven't done a bunch of back testing on the logarithmic chart or anything like that. I don't know how reliable that trend line is, I suppose, just because it's only been tested a few times in those 10 years. But I mean, it was respected quite well and is still being respected from the bottom side. So, I mean, that could be an ugly support resist flip there. But I'm loving the horizontal one. And I know as another man who loves looking at Fibonacci's, just going from our bear market bottom up to our bull market high. And I think I heard you say you pull yours from the COVID bottom, if I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
mistaken.
So I pull out two. So I always pull one out from the cover bottom, but also one for the last lows as well because it's kind of subjective, right?
Yeah, so I'm going from bear market bottom to bull market high, and the bottom of that green box lining up with the 786 so perfectly as well. Um, I just really like how everything is looking at this level. So to see those bullish divergences coming in there, like I said, I'm looking at my own analysis and then seeing the indicators agreeing with me. I really like to see that. And I know I have stated it in other videos before, but anyone who hasn't watched my Bitcoin cheat sheet or hasn't been in a live stream where I've talked about this, the RSI I think has a very interesting pattern too. Obviously, I have it outlined with a couple vertical lines here. A green one is basically when the RSI goes into oversold, and every other market cycle that it's done this, I mean, it has marked an exact bottom lined up. So that is so far what has happened with us. Obviously, anything can change. That does not have to mean that's going to happen again. But also looking at this downward sloping trend line on the RSI and flipping that from resistance into support was totally an early warning signal that things were about to flip bullish. I mean, that was before we broke this downward sloping trend line in the price. The RSI actually did it first, and then we flipped the price line into support and took off from there. Same with this, the start of this bull market or end of this bear market, whatever you want to say. Right where our RSI broke out of its downward sloping trend line, kind of starting back to where things were overbought, just where we got a bit of a retest there, down to where the price kind of lines up with the RSI. You can see that the RSI broke out again before the price did, so it was again just an early warning shot fired there. And that's kind of what we're getting right now too with the RSI. I mean, yeah, right now it looks weak, but we did break above that trend line on the RSI, and the price hasn't yet broke above this. But those other two market cycles, that was just an early warning signal. So I'm interested to see if that'll play out a third time in a row. Obviously, it doesn't have to, but it's just another thing on a macro scale, just kind of add into my math equation there. Just another little bit of confluence that I'm seeing that has repeated in the past. And you know what? It absolutely could happen again. Does it have to? No, but it could. What else was I going to look at here? Oh, yeah, and actually on my Twitter, I know I pointed it out. If you don't have me on Twitter, add me there too, at StuTube Trading, all one word. But sometimes I post analysis there if I don't have time to make videos or whatever. But I kind of pointed out our previous bear markets. I mean, here's my logarithmic chart we were just looking at. This right here is our current bear market. This was our previous bear market after that descending triangle that all of us just have PTSD from, basically. And the market cycle before that. So they all kind of look the same. During the bear market, they had a flat kind of box of support, and then they end up breaking it and just kind of accumulating sideways. And I don't really see a reason this one has to necessarily be different. Obviously, these all have a bit of a different distribution pattern, if you want to call it that, a top out pattern. They're all slightly different, but you kind of get the same result on these weekly charts. You get that final capitulation, and then you kind of find support and get a bunch of bullish divergences on the weekly scale. Let's see if I can just make it bigger and just flip through them. So yeah, this is just me kind of predicting that, you know what, I think the bottom is in, if it's going to act anything like the others. This is our current bear market bottom. Well, that might be premature, but as I'm predicting right now, this was our descending triangle. That's how it ended. Did that look strong? No, absolutely not. It looked like shit and looked like it was going to dump again. The market cycle before that, did it look strong? Absolutely not. I mean, everything at support is always going to look weak until obviously support finds support, right? So it's just something to consider, is that no other bear market would have given any clear indication that it was going to be in. So I think a lot of people aren't willing at all to even consider the fact that it's in right now. Could be in a lot of trouble because they just don't have a backup plan, as I was talking about before. And like I said, yes, I could absolutely be wrong, and I'll have to change my trading strategy. But until we drop that support, I mean, I just don't think that this bear market bottom, if this is the bottom, really looks any different from any previous market cycles. So and yeah, what Kieran just said in the chat there, in bear markets you learn trading. That is absolutely when I learned how to trade. I know I've mentioned in these streams before, I basically got into crypto and trading right about here. I think I made my first purchase about 3 days from the all-time high of this market cycle. I FOMO'd in right at the top. But you know what? On the way down, I learned some valuable lessons. One of my favorite trades to date was I shorted the shit out of this right here. I think it was actually my first leverage trade because I just did spot trading back here to learn. And this was it was either my first or one of my first trades, and I caught the short of this descending triangle down from I think it was from 5,800 down to 3,800 or something like that. It was still one of my best trades, probably not one of my biggest, but at the time, I mean, I wasn't trading with as much or whatever, but it was still one of the best trades to date that I have made, in my opinion. But how I learned trading in a bear market was I had FOMO on altcoins, as so many people did. And I just held altcoins, and to remove myself from the emotional side of the dollar amount side of things, I just wanted to try and collect tokens and just coin collect and try and learn how to get more coins, accumulate more for free. So I would kind of look for those sell-off patterns, change in structure, just learning how to sell an asset and then rebuy it back however much lower. Whether I was making money or not, I was just trying to accumulate coins, so I was at least learning how to trade. And that just helped me keep emotion out of it personally. I'm not saying to do that. That's just kind of what worked for me. And I got into leverage trading a lot later. Like I said, I started spot trading kind of right here. And I started leverage trading right about somewhere in here. So like anybody new to trading, I typically tell them to avoid trading with leverage because it's dangerous, or use very small leverage, or like you said, just have a good understanding of your risk reward and your bankroll management so you can kind of last a long time, basically, is the main thing. So that's kind of how I started anyways. We are getting to about an hour here, guys. Does anyone else want me to go over anything or have any questions? Like I said, whether it's just random questions or to do with the indicator, anything that the indicator does, anything like that. Let's check old Palm Swap. I feel like looking at this once in a while. It's just fun because I have some staked and I love to see the coins accumulate through that. Whether it's going up or down, it's always fun to watch a coin stake. But yeah, old Palm. I wonder how that one's going to do. I like, it almost looks like it has a bit of a falling wedge, rounding bottom kind of happening right now. I'm almost wondering if I should just buy a little bit more. I mean, the thing is with a coin like this, the market cap is so small. What is the market cap? 2.7 million. So I mean, there's a lot of room for growth on a coin like this. Obviously it's a very high risk because it's, you know, DeFi is the wild west of crypto, but as long as they don't shit the bed, like, that's a real small market cap. I love how much growth potential there is there. And right now I think the APY or APR, whatever it is like 106%. So it's cool being able to watch your stake kind of grow in real time. I would love to see this 10x, then that stake really looks nice, but wishful thinking maybe, but I would love to see it. How do they determine the market cap? If that's what you're asking, that would just be the amount of tokens times the token price would give you the market cap, what the whole thing is worth. I guess technically if they released all their tokens, the fully diluted market cap is more like 58 million. But I mean, you look at any crypto project, so many of them do have a bunch that are still not in the circulating supply. So this is kind of the circulating supplies market cap, I guess. Daily level and weekly level of what? Of this Palm Swap? I can't really do much charting on this either because the candle chart doesn't even bring anything up. Oh. Yeah, whatever. It's going. Bitcoin. When you say daily level or weekly level, I mean, this is the daily level that I'm watching. I like to watch more of a box rather than just a single price point. The daily level. What do you mean, like maybe where it's opening or closing? Or I might be just unfamiliar with the term. That's very possible. I keep my analysis pretty basic. I'm pretty simple. I basically just draw lines and boxes and
Can you hear me? I think I know what he means.
Okay, yeah, you go for it.
I think what he's asking is, like, how do you determine what is a daily level? And so I think this is the best analogy I use. So imagine you get into a fight with a girlfriend, right, or something. It doesn't matter what you say. It's what you say at the end. It's "I'm sorry." So at the end of the day, it's where the candle closes that matters, not the wick, right? So what Traders Tutor was saying, that there's been certain wicks, right, but it's not a pure close, because the wick is just areas of quick emotion, really. It's not really what matters is the close. So daily close, he's referring to where the actual body of the candle closes rather than the wick. He's saying that he pays more attention to that, and it's similar to weekly level as well. I hope that helps.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, like I guess yesterday our candle body close was what, around 19,160, somewhere in there. So yeah, that's, one thing that, as I mentioned, I didn't really like yesterday's close all that much, just because I thought the fact that we were retesting this downward sloping trend line so much, that old resist support flip, I thought when we got this violent reaction, this kind of daily candle really got a nice reaction after retesting that, other than that little fake out, like what Kieran was just talking about. There's emotion driven fake outs, deviations. I don't like that we got such a nice reaction from that level, but then our next daily candle was looking so good and nice and juicy, and then, like you said, at the end of the day, I just didn't really like the close. I really would have liked to see us kind of close above this 19.6 level. I would have loved to see a close above there at least. So the fact that we never got that, I don't really love. But again, we are still closing above my green box, so I am still bullish. Really, even closing anywhere in this box, I guess that's just kind of how I look at these support boxes. I map it out right at the start of the range, basically, and then watch how it's respected ever since then. So I don't really watch individual candles all that much. I'm more interested in this entire level. But yeah, yesterday's candle, yeah, it did close around 19,160, somewhere in there. I don't know. Hopefully I also answered what you're looking for, or at least gave you insight into what I'm looking at. But yeah, basically, I will remain bullish until this box drops and is actually closed below. As Kieran was just saying, if we just wick below this box, as I mentioned earlier as well, if we just wick below but close back above, I'm going to consider that a bit of a deviation and a fake out, a bit of a bear trap. So, but if we start closing candle bodies below this wick down here, that's when I'll start to be a little more worried, because you know what? That's the end of the day. That's where it's closing. That's where kind of the foot has been planted. It just seems like more of an obvious direction that the market wants to head. Rather than, yeah, you get these wicks kind of below structure. You get a wick down here. It's most likely just overreaction, an over emotional reaction from, well, mostly retail traders panicking and causing that volume to come, or getting that trade volume there, the liquidity into the markets, because retail traders would get scared with that break, very emotional, and that's when smart money can buy up all your orders, and they can actually accumulate down here rather than accidentally driving the price up as they're buying. So until we actually get a close below this box, I'm going to remain bullish. Even if at this point we were to keep trading down lower, and let's say we ended up getting a candle body close kind of right at the bottom of the box, especially, I mean, this is a lot of what ifs, but especially if it happened down this, retesting this downward sloping purple line, I'd actually still be incredibly bullish if we trade down towards this 17.6 level. It's really only if we get that daily candle body close below that I will really start to consider changing my tune.
What if there was a 4-hour close? Would you still have the same stance?
4-hour close I would also consider. That's probably where I'd more so be looking at smaller time frames and trying to find a retest or like a double top or something on a 5-minute or 15-minute. I would definitely take a 4-hour quite seriously.
Yeah, same.
I say daily just because that's what I have this mapped out on right now. But yeah, a 4-hour, even an hourly close would still have me considering things. A 4-hour, I would start to look at changing my trading strategy. I think that's where I would start looking for a shorter time frame to get into a short. A daily, yeah, you might miss a large part of that move, because when that level breaks on a 4-hour, I don't know how long it's going to take for that daily candle to really get ripping, and then it starts to get hard to enter a short at that point if momentum's going too fast. And That's kind of where it's a little bit tricky, but yeah, I think a 4 hour close below, I would definitely start checking out 15 and 5 minute and looking for some kind of confluence, bearish divergences, Fibonacci pullbacks, anything like that. I would definitely be starting to look at least trying to snipe a short. And then, if it didn't work out, maybe it is a fake out. And if it does work out, maybe you get into a beautiful running short.
Yeah, so I just want to say that's one thing I've noticed actually. 1 hour closes actually have caused a lot of false breaks. I've noticed over the years. So I found that only 4 hours and especially daily is quite more important. But yeah,
Yeah.
1 hour on its own, it's not reliable. I think because I specifically trade false breaks as one of my trading strategies. So for me, it'd have to be 4 hour and above really. But obviously, daily is more weight. I think.
Yeah, so like let's say we're on a 4 hour here, we have my support box mapped out. If we got a 4 hour candle that kind of went, wicked down to that, let's say, what were you talking about, 16.8K or something like that, we end up kind of wicking to that level below this trend line and getting right back above and closing above this level. That's where I would really be considering trying to long along this purple trend line again, because I think we would come back and retest it on smaller time frames. And I would love to enter a long position if we got some kind of a fake out with the candle body closing back above this box and this downward sloping trend line. I think that would be a beautiful false break to trade.
The annoying thing about what happened actually was so that day when it wicked down to 1800, I see this scenario all the time. It's like a deviation play and it just goes back up. And I wanted it long when it was just a wick, but then I was having lunch and I just missed the move. Because if you notice, it went down to 1800, it just went back up quickly. So you had no really chance to get in based on the 15-minute time frame. It was such a such a quick recovery. It's annoying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the one where I was saying, where was it? Back here. That's where we would have touched. That's where you're talking, hey, when we tested 18K here the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was such a
I removed it now, but I usually on those daily trend lines, I'll actually add an alert to go off every minute until I check it. And then I ended up seeing that it was starting to close 5 minute candles above that line. And like I said, with that bullish divergence, that's where what made me take a long there. It was actually the 5 minute chart.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the thing. So I trade 15-minute and above, so that's something new actually. Yeah, sometimes you have to kind of go lower time frames, even if you stick to 15 minutes. Yeah.
But again, that is one of those things where I did not just have a long set here. Like you were talking about not just randomly setting the long. That was a set the alarm so that I could start watching it and see how it reacted. And, okay, the 5 minute is starting to show some confluence at this level. I'm already watching on a daily time frame, so that's why I kind of gave it the weight I did. It had this candle body closed below this purple line, I would have not been as interested in entering up here. It was just that it happened to work so perfectly with these 5 minute candles respecting it that I was like, this line does seem like it's pretty accurate. I've been watching it for months at this point. I mean, we all kind of have, but to see it respected so well zoomed in like that with the divergences there. Again, just having the indicators kind of lining up with my own personal analysis and having my short-term analysis lining up with my long-term analysis.
Yeah, it was one of those trades you had to be on a 5-minute time frame to get in. But yeah, fair play to you.
Oh, it would have been like even that, like the stop loss, it was a little bit uncomfortable because I mean, that is a full 2% down to the bottom of that wick. I mean, you really can't use too much leverage, and that starts to be a bit of a high number that you could potentially lose. So that's what's risky with those long wicks. Like I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. When we got this wick, such a violent reaction like that, I was even considering that, we might lose that trend line again, but, start closing green candle bodies kind of somewhere in this area near the bottom of this. I was thinking maybe I can get a beautiful entry down here. I think I even had a Fibonacci pulled at one point just from like where we were topping out. I was like, oh, maybe I can kind of get in down here, right? And just when I saw this bullish divergence come in and, just getting above this average, the moving average of the Algo 3, it just kind of lined up. I was like, this 5 minutes just really lining up with my overall grand scheme of things. I just got to pull the trigger on that. But again, that's cautiously bullish, because as soon as we started breaking it back down below structure, I did close it again. So like I said, got to take profits too, right? This is kind of interesting. What do we have here on the 5 minute going on? That's kind of one of those moments where, like, we have this big reaction wick here, and we're actually starting to close green candle bodies around there again. This is very micro analyzing, just a heads up. But just going from bottom here to where we topped out there, I mean, we pretty much got back down to the 786 fib there. It's crazy how close we get to that fib so often. But again, that's obviously micro-analyzing. But, yeah, guys, I think, again, I should probably get going. I do have a birthday I got to get to in a couple hours here and still have a few things to do. So I should probably think about wrapping this up. If you guys haven't yet, I think a lot of you guys have already. I have my own YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. My videos are typically a lot shorter than this. I usually try and keep them kind of around the 10-minute mark, give or take. Obviously a lot shorter and quicker to the point than these 1 hour, 1.5, 2 hour streams. So be sure to check that out. And like I said, same with on Twitter. Sometimes I just post analysis there if I don't have time to be on making videos, but I still want to be talking crypto or whatever. Yeah, other than that, I think that's where I'm going to leave off for the day. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. I'll still be probably in the group chat. I'm sure I just can't stay away from charts for too long, so I'll probably be posting stuff while I'm out tonight anyways. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. And Kieran, thanks for taking part so much. I always appreciate your insight on things. I can definitely learn from a guy like you, so I appreciate all your insights there.
Oh, thanks for the stream. Thank you.
You betcha. We'll do it again soon. I'm hoping this week isn't quite as busy as last week. So I'm hoping that I can actually do a couple this week. Maybe on Wednesday or Thursday I'll do another one, something like that. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday even. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on the group chat. So with that, thanks a bunch for tuning in, everybody. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. Peace.